Over the past few years, horror games have changed a lot. Whether it's indie developers or big studios, everyone's pushing for realistic visuals and tension that really gets under your skin. Here are 18 most anticipated horror games coming soon. Regeneration feels like a slow descent into something you don't fully understand. It starts with a scientist surviving a crash in a remote, abnormal wilderness, trying to save someone important to him. But the longer he stays there, the less the world makes sense. The story leans heavily into psychological horror. Locations shift, events don't line up, and even your own memories start to feel unreliable. At some point, it's not just about escaping anymore. It's about figuring out what's real and what isn't. Gameplay focuses on exploration and investigation rather than constant combat. You use scientific tools to scan anomalies, study the environment, and piece things together. There are threats, but the main pressure comes from uncertainty. You're never fully sure if what you're seeing is actually happening or not.
Someone has to stop this before it awakens. Kate, please, forgive me.
Lucky Day stands out in a different way compared to most horror games on this list. It's built around exploring dangerous, ancient ruins filled with traps, strange mechanisms, and things that don't quite make sense. The gameplay is built around exploration and dealing with hazards. You're navigating through ruins, avoiding traps, solving environmental challenges, and trying to reach hidden treasure. But it's not just about puzzles. There are strange, unnatural threats that show up, making things feel more tense the longer you stay inside these places. What makes it interesting is how the danger comes from the environment itself. It's not always about being chased. Sometimes it's the floor collapsing, traps activating, or something unknown appearing when you least expect it. That mix of adventure and sudden threat gives it a different kind of pressure compared to typical horror games. BrokenLore Don't Play starts with a simple setup. A shut-in named Hideo gets his hands on a strange experimental console that promises something new. But the more he plays, the more his life starts to fall apart in ways that don't make sense. Gameplay is split into multiple sections, each with different mechanics. One moment you're solving puzzles and exploring, then suddenly the rules change and you have to adapt. You're constantly figuring out what the game expects from you while dealing with new threats and situations. The story builds slowly. His apartment begins to change, time doesn't line up, and the game itself starts influencing what's happening outside the screen. It's not explained directly, which makes everything more unsettling as you try to piece it together.
ああ、うん。で、どうしたの？ひどいことって純子、帰った方がいいと思う。
なんで分かってくれないの？私だって誰かと一緒にいたいの。たった一日でいたら孤独を忘れたいだけなのに。
It's high time you tell me what the hell is going on.
In the end, it's every man for himself.
As I see it, we're both far beyond redemption.
Doesn't mean we should kill people on a whim.
just trying to save my family.
Good. Bad. Fairy tales. People tell themselves to preserve their sanity.
The Blood of Dawnwalker feels like a dark fantasy story where every choice actually matters. Set in a brutal 14th century world during the Black Death, the game follows Cohen, a man caught between being human and something much darker. Vampires have started taking control, and you're stuck in the middle of it, trying to save your family before time runs out. Gameplay shifts depending on time of day. During the day, you fight more like a human, using swords, blocking attacks, and relying on skill and timing. At night, things change completely. You get access to vampire abilities like fast movement, climbing walls, and brutal close-range attacks that make you feel way more powerful, but also less human. What makes it stand out is the time system. You only have a limited number of in-game days, and every action pushes time forward. That means you can't do everything. You'll have to decide who to help, what to ignore, and what really matters. Ill is a first-person survival horror game built around realistic physics, brutal combat, and extremely detailed enemy reactions. And that's exactly what made it stand out the moment gameplay was shown. The core idea revolves around physical realism and body-based damage. Enemies don't just take hits and fall, they react based on where you shoot or strike them. Limbs can be damaged, movement can change, and some enemies keep coming even after serious injuries. The gameplay stands out because of how physical everything is. Weapons have weight, reloading takes time, and enemies react in detailed ways depending on where you hit them. You're not just shooting targets, you're dealing with creatures that move unpredictably and don't go down easily. Visually, it leans heavily into body horror. Creature designs are detailed in a disturbing way, and animations make everything feel raw and uncomfortable. It's not just about being scary, it's about making you uneasy the entire time. Blight Survival is set in a brutal medieval world where a deadly plague turns corpses into monsters, right in the middle of a war between two kingdoms. You're not playing a hero here, you're part of a group sent into infected territory to survive, gather resources, and figure out how to stop the spread. Combat is one of the main highlights. It's slow, weighty, and very physical, closer to something like Souls-style or realistic medieval fighting. You're managing stamina, timing attacks, blocking, and positioning carefully. It's not button mashing. One mistake can get you surrounded fast. The gameplay is built around mission-based survival with a risk and reward system. You enter dangerous zones, fight through enemies, collect loot, and decide whether to push deeper or get out safely. If you fail, you can lose what you found, so every run becomes a decision between greed and survival. Remothered Red Nun's Legacy brings the series back with a darker and more focused story. It starts with a missing child, but it quickly turns into something much bigger. You play as Susan, a mother following a lead about her daughter, which takes her to an isolated mansion tied to a series of disappearances. From there, things start to unravel fast. Gameplay sticks to classic survival horror, but adds new systems. You're dealing with stalker-type enemies that actively hunt you, so hiding, sneaking, and escaping are core parts of staying alive. There are moments where you can fight back, but most of the time it's about avoiding danger and thinking ahead instead of rushing in. One of the more unique mechanics is the hypnosis system. You can interact with objects to reveal hidden memories, uncover secret paths, and even change how you understand the environment.
The bodies of 4 of the previously reported missing have been found.
So Doc, I'm guessing you've covered your fair share of reports regarding signs of life?
To say that this geode is really a sign of life is a little much.
Actually, this is only my second time investigating one of these reports. Have we experienced this before?
Hand over the geode, Doctor.
What? No, we can't just hand it over.
I don't have time for this.
No!
Are you okay, Doc?
Project Vesperi takes a different approach compared to typical horror games. Instead of constant monsters or jump scares, it builds tension through choices, pressure, and the feeling that every decision can go very wrong. The story is set in the year 2083 on a station on Venus. You play as Dr. Evelyn Roth, a scientist investigating what could be the first real sign of life beyond Earth. Things start to fall apart when an unknown intruder appears, turning the situation into a high-stakes survival scenario. It's not just about staying alive, it's about deciding how far you're willing to go to protect the discovery, even if it means risking other people on the station. Gameplay focuses on branching choices and consequences. Almost every decision affects how the story plays out, including who survives and what ending you get. There are multiple endings, and even small choices during conversations or exploration can change how characters react to you later. Industria 2 is a story-driven first-person shooter that mixes sci-fi and horror in a really unique way. You play as Nora, a scientist trapped in a parallel dimension controlled by a rogue AI, trying to find a way back home while dealing with the consequences of her own past. The setting is one of the strongest parts. It combines cold industrial ruins with strange natural environments, all wrapped in this quiet, eerie atmosphere. Gameplay focuses on slow-paced exploration, shooting, and survival systems. You're searching for resources, crafting items, and managing a limited inventory while moving through dangerous areas. Weapons can be upgraded with attachments like silencers or extended magazines, giving you some flexibility in how you handle encounters. At the same time, enemies, especially the machine-based ones, lean into body horror, with disturbing designs and reactions that make fights feel more intense.
I was part of a rescue mission to retrieve you and your partner, Walter Rebel. I had a squad of people. I'm the only one who survived. There's a sender at the FKE Nordvold outpost. We use it to get back and forth.
How long's the trip?
Maybe 1 or 2 days, depending on the Atlas activity. So you built an AI for...
Frame Zero is one of those horror games that grabs attention because of how it plays with perspective. The whole experience is built around using a camera, and what you see through the lens isn't always the same as what's actually there. The story puts you in a strange situation where you're trying to understand what's happening around you, but the more you rely on the camera, the more things start to change. It's not just a tool, it becomes part of how you survive and figure things out. Gameplay focuses on exploration and observation. You move through dark environments, scan areas with your camera, and uncover details you wouldn't normally see. Some paths only appear through the lens, while certain threats are easier to deal with if you understand how to use it properly. What makes it interesting is how it keeps you second-guessing everything. You're constantly switching between what's real and what the camera shows, trying to decide which one to trust. That simple idea creates a lot of tension without needing constant action.
because everything on the outside would kill us. We're like crabs in a barrel, fighting to get to the top, pulled down by everyone else. By justice that only knows how to place its boot on your neck. By outlaws that couldn't care less if you lived or died. You want to know the way to survive? You fight.
Defect is the kind of horror game that keeps things simple on the surface, but gets more unsettling the longer you play. You're placed in a controlled environment where something clearly isn't working the way it should, and your job is to figure out what's going wrong. The story doesn't give you everything up front. Instead, it lets you piece things together through small details, system behavior, and changes in the environment. At first, it feels manageable, but slowly things start to break, and that's when the tension really kicks in. Gameplay is focused on observation and interaction. You're checking systems, moving through connected areas, and trying to understand patterns while things around you start acting differently. There aren't many direct threats at the start, but the pressure builds as mistakes start to matter more. For me, this works because it creates tension without overdoing it. It's the kind of game where you're constantly thinking, something's off, and that feeling just keeps growing the more you play. Ontos leans more into quiet, unsettling horror instead of throwing constant threats at you. The setup is simple. You're exploring a strange space that doesn't fully make sense, trying to understand what happened there and why everything feels slightly off. Gameplay focuses on exploration and small interactions. You move through different areas, examine objects, and solve light puzzles to progress. There's no heavy combat, so most of the tension comes from the atmosphere and how the environment changes over time. The story is told in pieces. You're not getting clear answers right away, so most of the time you're picking up clues, noticing patterns, and slowly realizing something isn't right with the world around you. It's the kind of game that lets you connect the dots yourself. It's the kind of experience where the fear builds slowly, and before you notice it, you're fully on edge just from trying to make sense of everything.
What is existence, really? Surely a question without an answer. Your father thought he knew, and it inspired him to grant wishes.
Who's that? Nightmare. Yes!
That's why all of us are here. You want to understand, to know. Then you have to step beyond the walls surround you. Play your father's game. Push the very limits. Until even reality itself breaks.
Forest 3 takes the series in a direction nobody really expected. Instead of being stuck on a remote island like before, this time you're dealing with survival on an alien planet after a spaceship crash. And yeah, it's just as hostile, if not worse. The setup is simple but effective. Something goes wrong during a space mission, and you end up stranded in a place filled with strange creatures, massive monsters, and environments that don't follow normal rules. It keeps that same you're alone and not prepared feeling the series is known for, just in a completely new setting. Gameplay still sticks to what made the series work: survival, crafting, and exploration. But now with a sci-fi twist. You're gathering resources, building what you need to stay alive, and dealing with threats that are way more unpredictable than before. The trailer already shows things like giant worms, mutated creatures, and even more advanced tools and weapons. There's also a stronger focus on scale. The world looks bigger, more open, and more dangerous, with different types of environments instead of just forests. Dark Mass takes horror somewhere we don't see often. Deep underwater, inside a sunken manor that's been sitting there for centuries. You play as Alice, a diver who discovers a shipwreck. But what's really hiding beneath it is way worse. The setup alone already changes everything. Movement is affected by water, visibility is limited, and the deeper you go, the more isolated it gets. It's not just a haunted place, it's a place where escape already feels difficult before anything even happens. Gameplay focuses on exploration, puzzle solving, and survival under pressure. You move through the manor solving disturbing ritual-based puzzles while something stalks you in the background. It's not constant action, it's more about tension building as you try to figure things out without putting yourself in danger. There's also a strong story element. You stay in contact with your brother through a radio, slowly uncovering what happened to this place and why it's still alive after all this time.
This place has been buried for centuries. Today is our chance to discover what no one else has seen.
Reed, do you copy?
Loud and clear, Alice.
The earthquake has turned everything upside down. You won't believe what I'm seeing. Hey, drop me a crowbar. I'm gonna try to get in. I'm hooking up the camera now. Let me know if you're getting the feed.
Behind you! There's something behind you!
There's nothing left anymore.
Forgive me. It wasn't supposed to end this way.
I couldn't protect her. I can't follow you, Fox. So come back to me when it's all done. I'm scared, Aylin.
This is about something much bigger than you, Fox.
Monsters? Is that what you think of them?
Luna Abyss goes for a very different kind of horror by mixing fast-paced shooting with a surreal, almost dreamlike world. You play as a prisoner sent into a massive underground structure, guided by an AI that clearly knows more than it's telling you. The world design is what really stands out. Everything looks abstract and distorted, like architecture that shouldn't exist. You're moving through huge spaces filled with strange shapes, glowing symbols, and environments that feel more psychological than physical. Gameplay is built around movement and shooting at the same time. It's fast, almost like a bullet hell FPS, where you're dodging projectiles, staying mobile, and reacting quickly. But at the same time, there's this constant pressure coming from the environment and the voice guiding you. Instead of slowing things down, the game keeps pushing you forward. You don't get much time to stop and think, which creates a different kind of tension. It's more about being overwhelmed than being hunted. The Lost Wild takes a familiar idea, dinosaurs, and turns it into something way more grounded and tense. Instead of treating them like monsters, the game treats them like real animals, which actually makes encounters feel more unpredictable and dangerous. You play as an investigative reporter, stranded on an island filled with abandoned research facilities and prehistoric life. There's a mystery behind what happened there, and you're guided by a voice over the radio while trying to piece everything together. Gameplay is built around survival, stealth, and reading behavior. You're not running in guns blazing. Most of the time you're sneaking, creating distractions, or just trying to stay out of sight. If things go wrong, your options are limited. Run, hide, or try to scare predators off using things like fire or non-lethal tools. What makes it interesting is how the dinosaurs react. They're curious, adaptive, and not scripted like typical enemies. That means every encounter can play out differently depending on how you move and what you do. OD is one of the strangest horror projects right now, and that's not surprising considering it comes from Hideo Kojima. Instead of showing clear gameplay, what's been revealed so far focuses more on the idea of fear itself, especially how fear connects to memory, consciousness, and even how we interact with games. The concept leans into something Kojima calls overdose of fear. It's not just about being scared in the moment, but about building discomfort that stays with you. The game is being developed with cloud technology, which hints that it might do things traditional horror games can't, possibly reacting to players in ways that feel more personal. From what's been shown, it's not a typical survival horror setup. There's no clear combat system or standard gameplay loop yet. Instead, it looks more experimental, using performances, sound, and player interaction to create tension. Even the teaser focuses more on expressions and subtle changes rather than action. Hellraiser Revival is finally turning one of the most iconic horror franchises into a full game, and honestly, this is something fans have been waiting for a long time. After decades of movies, this is the first time Hellraiser is getting a proper, story-driven survival horror experience. The story follows Aiden, who makes a deal with Pinhead after his girlfriend is taken into the labyrinth, basically a nightmare realm controlled by the Cenobites. From there, everything becomes about survival, pain, and how far you're willing to go to get someone back. Gameplay is built around first-person survival horror with combat and puzzle mechanics. You're not just running away, you can fight using melee weapons, guns, and even the Genesis configuration puzzle box, which gives you unique abilities tied to the Hellraiser universe. There's also a mix of enemies, from cultists to full-on Cenobites, and they're not easy to deal with. Some fights are about survival, others are about understanding how to use your tools properly. And since this is Hellraiser, expect everything to be intense, violent, and very uncomfortable in a way that fits the series.
But perhaps we can come to an arrangement.
What do you want from me?
Aiden Lynch. You will give yourself to our purpose. All that you are. Let us